I'm now over a month into my journey as a campaign reporter on the ground in Georgia and North Carolina covering the 2026 elections. Here's what I've covered so far. On June 15th, I began my journey flying into Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, and the very next day, I was already covering an election night watch party. I was at an event for Derek Dooley, a former football coach turned Republican Senate candidate running in the primary runoff election. See, in the first round of voting, none of the candidates broke 50%, so the top two advanced to this runoff race. Derek Dooley, he was endorsed by the outgoing governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, but unfortunately, this race didn't go Dooley or Kemp's race. Instead, Mike Collins, the Trump-backed candidate, won by a healthy margin. But here is what Dooley had to say about Senator Jon Ossoff in his concession speech.
I do not believe he represents the values of our Georgia, our people, and we need to work together to fire his ass in November. I believe that.
Now, the Senate primary wasn't the only thing not to go Governor Kemp's way that week. The very next day, I was at the state capitol for a special session called by the governor to redraw Georgia's maps for the 2028 election. This comes on the heels of the redistricting wars for the 2026 election. Started when President Trump called on Texas to redraw its maps to create 5 safe new Republican seats. California responded, drawing 5 new safe Democratic seats. But during this session, Georgia chose not to redraw their maps.
House Republicans will not be taking up congressional or legislative redistricting maps for the 2028 election cycle during this special session. We believe that it is important to do the things the Georgia way, responsibly, transparently, and with ample opportunity for public input. There are a number of cases pending where judges are currently analyzing the decision of Calais on redistricting. Several of those cases involve Georgians' prior and current maps.
Now, of course, Georgia Democrats had their theories as to why Republicans backed off.
What they were anticipating was that they could get away with it and that the people would not get energized. But the people of Georgia got energized, and we're the first state to stop this at this particular point, really basically at its infancy.
After the special session, things died down a bit in Georgia, so I headed north and a little bit outside of my beat to Greenville, South Carolina, where there was yet another Republican primary runoff election in the governor's race. Pam Yvette, the current lieutenant governor of South Carolina, was challenging Alan Wilson, the attorney general, for the Republican nomination. Afterward, I headed to Union, South Carolina, a small rural town that was already looking ahead to the 2028 election.
Me, I've been very ardent against this war because I've seen this. This is deja vu to me. The people end up, feeling this. It's not Donald Trump's kids. Donald Trump kids are at the UFC fight, drinking beer and watching 2 guys wrestle.
Then I returned my focus to the 26th cycle, headed to Columbia, the state's capital, where Alan Wilson, the other candidate in that governor's race, was holding a rally at a barbecue joint.
The momentum is real. The energy is real. We are going to win tomorrow.
And while Pam Yvette had the endorsement of the President of the United States, Wilson had the endorsement of Ted Cruz, the senator from Texas.
This is no longer a divide between right and left. It's not a divide between conservative and liberal. It's a divide between reality and crazy.
However, by the time of this event, Trump had double endorsed in this race, also throwing his weight behind Wilson. That was an interesting complexifier heading into election night. I headed to Myrtle Beach to be at Pam Yvette's watch party. Now, she ultimately lost by a pretty wide margin in that contest, and here's what she had to say in her concession speech.
And I won't pretend that I'm not disappointed, because I am. I want to reiterate what I've said all along. This race wasn't about me. It never has been. It's been about you. The people, the taxpayers, the business owners, the families who make our state the best in the world.
After that race, I returned my focus to my original region, heading back to Georgia, this time to Savannah, where Democratic Senator Jon Ossoff was holding a rally with Keisha Lance Bottoms, the former mayor of Atlanta and Democratic nominee in the race for governor. At that event, Ossoff had some sharp criticism of the Trump administration.
The president was so humiliated in Hormuz. He threw his toys out the stroller and refused to sign the affordable housing bill. Did you see that? But wait, That's after he gave some felon donor a no-bid contract for the reflecting pool and it filled up with algae, which for some reason required the deployment of the National Guard.
Bottoms also tore into her opponent, billionaire and healthcare entrepreneur Rick Jackson.
As grocery and gas prices remain too high and families continue to struggle, it is the same Rick Jackson who says he can't think of a single policy where he disagrees with Donald Trump. So when Rick Jackson asked for your vote to lead Georgia, you gotta ask, lead us where, Slick Rick?
Then I got a taste of the other half my beat, heading north to Charlotte, North Carolina, where I covered an event with Roy Cooper, the former governor of North Carolina, vying to be the next senator, replacing retiring Republican Senator Tom Tillis.
There's so many people in Washington right now who just want to be something instead of wanting to do something. I want to do something.
I covered another Roy Cooper event in Graham, North Carolina, about an hour and a half outside Raleigh, where he criticized his opponent Michael Whatley and his ties to one of the state's largest energy companies.
He has the idea that you help the very wealthiest. You help those who really don't need the help from the federal government instead of the people that do need the help.
Cooper also addressed a key controversy from his time as governor, when a court ordered the release of over 1,000 people from North Carolina's prisons after a COVID outbreak.
It's pretty clear that he has made this COVID prisoner release the center of his political attack, but he's been caught lying about it time and again, and I was the one who fought these releases.
Of course, I also covered a couple of Republican events in North Carolina, heading east to Newbern, where the United States Secretary of Education was joined by Lori Buckout, the Republican challenging Representative Don Davis in North Carolina's 1st District. Buckout had this to say about the role of the government in education.
Global peace, working with international organizations, etc. That's very much the role for government. When it comes to telling parents how to educate their child, I think that's a little problematic.
Then I headed back west to Harrisburg to cover the other side of the race to replace Tom Tillis, where Republican Michael Whatley was joined by members of law enforcement who were endorsing his campaign. Whatley had this to say about Cooper's time as governor.
The worst governor in the history of the state of North Carolina.
Whatley also threw his weight behind the SAVE Act, the Republican proposal to overhaul how elections are run in the United States.
Having election integrity is the foundational building block of American democracy. We need to have it. I strongly support the Save America Act. When I was the RNC chairman, we built the first ever national election integrity program where we fought to make sure that we have the right laws, rules, and regulations in place before voting starts.
And I returned to Atlanta to cover my first Trump rally, where Trump was promoting Trump Accounts, which are a government proposal to provide investment accounts for children. Rick Jackson, the candidate for governor, joined Trump on stage.
Mr. President, what you're doing on the Trump Accounts is for foster children will, change lives. I know because I said earlier that it changed my life when I got a $100 Christmas gift in an orphanage. That's why here in Georgia we should not stop with $1,000. I want to announce as when I become governor, I'm going to push the state of Georgia to match the federal contribution with another $1,000.
While Mike Collins, the Republican nominee in the Senate race here, wasn't present at the event, Trump still took aim at his opponent, Senator Ossoff.
But I hope you're going to vote for Mike, and you've got to vote for him because he's running against, I call him Pee Wee Herman. He's Pee Wee Herman lookalike.
Speaking of Ossoff, I covered another one of his events in Midtown, where he argued that his opponent is unfit for office.
See, there's a reason Brian Kemp worked so hard to try to keep Mike Collins from getting the nomination in this Senate race. And it's because even among Georgia Republicans, Mike Collins is known as a man of low integrity and poor character. This man is a known bigot and anti-Semite.
He also accused the Trump administration of mishandling the cyclospora outbreak, now spreading across 41 states.
Secretary Kennedy canceled the CDC's required food net monitoring of cyclospora, and he refuses to answer my inquiries, now 2 that I've sent him in the last 100 hours.
Finally, I covered my first Rep. Collins event in Cumming, another Atlanta suburb, where he criticized Senator Ossoff's career.
I'm running against a guy that has never had a job in his life. And I think that's a lot of the reasons that you see why the voting records are what they are when they're totally opposite.
Now, Ossoff has been a huge fundraiser in this race, and Collins took aim at his out-of-state donors.
Pushing to allow men to go into women's domestic violence centers with the Equality Act. If you thought that was crazy, if they get him reelected, you don't think they won't call that no do?
So that's what I've been up to the last month. It's been an exciting ride, but there is so much more to come. I'm going to try to put out more regular updates here whenever I can, so follow for more and stay tuned.